Joining me now is Oloya Gani Fani. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My pleasure.
Now, when you look at the 9-hour process yesterday, would you say that democracy was saved, or it was a subversion of justice, like the PDP has said?
First is to congratulate the winner of the contest, and also to appeal to whoever felt he lost. In actual fact, nobody lost.
Really?
Everybody won.
How do you mean?
In the state of anarchy, there's nobody who can govern or anybody who can do anything. And that's precisely what democracy is all about. Democracy is a process whereby you can express your feelings, your will, virtually everything, freedom, at least within the ambits of the law. So as it is very symbolic, that judgment. Not minding the hours, because I'm happy that occasionally like this, and every person on the street will understand the strain and the rigors involved in the judicial process. To be delivering a judgment for 9 hours, everybody should be able to realize what it has taken. Another issue that's of importance to me is the fact that the ruling party, the beneficiary too, should be humble. At the same time, to realize the fact that the rule of law has no alternative. So when rulings are against the government itself, I don't want to hear anybody reviewing it or inciting people to violence and all that. So the rule of law has taken its course. Because somebody is aggrieved, went before a court, and then the court adjudicated on it. That's precisely the symbolism of what happened yesterday. Yes.
But then they are looking at, pushing further, because like they said, it's a subversion of justice. They want to go to the Supreme Court.
Of course, that is within the
ambits of the law.
Yes.
Okay.
It is still part of ventilating your grievances in an orderly manner, rather than incitement.
All right. So now let's look at the facts or the issues within the whole process. A lot of cases, or prayers rather, were struck out or either seen as flawed. What do you make of those?
Look, I'm happy that 5 justices were there to look at the pleadings. First and foremost, you lay your complaints in kind of a pleading, alleging, and then you are also supposed to come with witnesses to come and prove what you have written. And the respondent is also entitled, through his lawyers, to do what we call cross-examination. The cross-examination is to ensure that what you have said is true or false. And that is a process that has been taking place all along, when virtually nobody was aware. And it's on this basis the arbiter, standing there, listening to both parties, we put on a scale. And then that's precisely what the justices what they did. They evaluated and looked at the evidence of both parties and looked at the prayers of the petitioner and found them unworthy. And accordingly, the court struck them out.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Fani, for your time on TVC Breakfast.
It's my pleasure being here. Yeah.
Let me come to you on this. The point there is, did it look like people already knew how the judgment was going to go?
No lawyer will ever say that I know where a judgment is going. It's unethical and it's non-professional. The issue is that you might be contemplating, but the truth of the matter is that, in fact, you should be afraid. Because it's like waiting for the result of an examination. On Monday, I had a judgment at the Election Petition Tribunal in Abeokuta. I must tell you, since I was informed on Thursday that there will be judgment on the 9th, I couldn't sleep properly. Even when I knew I have matured. So ideally, nobody can just say, then it means what the justices did for 9 hours was probably a child's play.
And a formality.
Exactly.
All right, as it is right now, this is the first time that the reading out the judgment that is being carried out is televised live. How does that add up to inclusiveness in the judiciary?
It is also helping the system.
Okay.
For instance, when you had yourself yesterday, there's nothing esoteric about what we do in the courtrooms. All we need is education and the process to be able to appreciate, okay, this person alleged this, and that allegation supported with evidence, whether the evidence of the witnesses were sufficient or not. These are the kind of things that will open up the society to the fact that actually there was an effort at ensuring precedents that we lawyers clutch as if it's that's a magic wand. Because once there is a precedent, we hold on to it. So we are all encouraging and developing democracy because it is now known to everybody that you don't incite your followers into anarchy simply because you lost an election.
Okay.
You now have a process of ventilating your anger, and then justice is done.
All right, let's leave it here now. We still, from the reports we got, the PDP is still, the lawyer for PDP saying they're still going to the Supreme Court. So the battle still goes on. Gani Fani, thank you so much for coming on the program.
My pleasure being here.
Thank you very much.
Well, joining us now is a lawyer, Gani Fani. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
Now, the president may be unperturbed before, during, and after the tribunal. But then one thing that has come to the minds of many is the cost of overturning perhaps a presidential, overturning a presidential election. What do you think the picture would have been if the decision was overturned?
Well, that is part of the judicial system because when you are aggrieved, you approach the arbiter, which is now the court, or the tribunal in this case. And anything is capable of happening in the sense that the petitioner that approached the tribunal has a set of prayers. And these prayers are within what the law can also handle. For instance, your prayer could be you want a rerun. And an order of court will be given to say, look, INEC, go back. Go and do it. It could be nullify the election, and so on and so forth. Those are prayers within. So the system that you call a state or a nation, that is why a democratic system is predictable. So there is nothing that would have happened if the prayers of the petitioner were successful. But unfortunately, to the wisdom of the justices, they found it unworthy, and as a result, they said, okay.
But there was palpable tension before yesterday's proceedings.
Of course, it is normal. Even from elementary school or anywhere, if you are expecting a result, naturally you'll be anxious, and there'll be anxiety. So it is normal process of life that when there's an expectation, and particularly once it has a political coloration, yes. It is just unlike just anybody approaching any court. And that is why they say election petition is sui generis, in a class of its own. And it's almost a cliche that lawyers ought to be familiar with. It's in a class of its own because an average person that knows nothing about law, who is just a politician, core politician, will get involved. That is the significance of the judgment yesterday. It's like demystifying most of the things you think are happening in the bedroom. Everybody saw the judgment being read. And an average person on the street can pick one or two things. You don't need to be a lawyer to understand the fact that you need to prove your allegation beyond reasonable doubt. You need to prove, not through a hearsay. All those things were being said yesterday. And an average person who is not a lawyer is able to appreciate the fact that, okay, for 9 hours to have sat down and be reading judgment, then something significant in this. It's not as if it is predetermined.
All right. Thank you very much, Gani Fani, for your insight into this. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Right.